Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Bookmakers Reviews coverage of the English Premier League. I'm your host, Martin Green. I have Matt Lawrence alongside me to break down 10 exciting games taking place this weekend. Well, actually, we're going to have to take one of them out, aren't we? Because Tottenham versus Brighton's been called off due to all those COVID cases. So nine games for you guys today. Starting, Matt, with Brentford versus Watford. Newly promoted teams. What have you made of their season so far, and who do you think is going to prevail in this big game?
I think that, Brentford have been really strong this season. They've lived up to some of the expectations that a lot of good, knowledgeable people had on them in a sense of, I think that they're going to stay up is what a lot of people said at the beginning of the season. And they're bringing it every game. They're making it tough to get a victory, especially, at the community stadium there. But yeah, I mean, in this game, it's under Claudio Ranieri. Watford have looked better. They're at least being competitive. They're scoring goals. That's not to say that they're collecting a ton of points, but they've had a few shock results. And I think that he's at least gotten them firing offensively, which is big. And that's why I'm going here with both teams to score a yes bet here in this one. I do think it's sensible. I think that Brentford at home generally score. Watford have, the last four matches for them have seen both teams to score yes come in, and they're scoring on the likes of teams like Man City, Chelsea, United, Leicester. So I think that they can find the back of the net here, and yeah, both teams to score for me. I'm not sure who wins this one. I would probably lean towards the home side, but yeah, both teams to score landed one out of the two head-to-heads last season between these two in the championship.
Yeah, like you say, both strong attacking teams, especially Watford. They're a fun team going forward at the moment under Claudio Ranieri, but they do leave gaps at the back, so that looks like an interesting approach. I don't really want anything to do with Brentford. I still just can't figure them out this season, so I'm going to pass this one. But it's a fun Friday night game. Yeah, I think I agree. If you were going to go for it, goals would be the way to go rather than the outrights. Okay, the early game on Saturday, which is 12:30 p.m. our time, 7:30 a.m. Eastern, is Manchester City versus Wolverhampton Wanderers. Man City lost to RB Leipzig in midweek, which was a bit surprising. It wasn't an important game for them; they had nothing to play for. But yeah, still surprising to see them lose. They're coming up against the Wolves team that have been pretty solid in recent weeks. They're up to 8th in the table. Not exactly not going to be a walk in the park for Man City, Matt, but do you think they get the job done?
So in this one, I just think that the price is too big on the roadside here. For me, 2 seasons ago, Wolves won home and away. I know that last season they lost home and away. I mean, that's very easy to do against Man City. They were at least able to score in both of those. But I mean, look at it. They've scored 7 goals in the last 4 meetings against Man City. So they've got a good idea of how to play this team, and they've got good counter-attacking players, I should say, to maybe be able to get, at the likes of an Ake and Stones or Diaz. I mean, we'll see kind of what the lineups are. And I would preface this by saying, I would probably wait. This price isn't really going to move too much, and maybe just make sure you're buttoning up all of the lineup that you really want to see for Wolves, and hopefully you see a couple things in City's lineup that you think that Wolves can attack at and expose. But I just think this price is way too big. We saw Wolves last week be extremely competitive against Liverpool. I think that they had a couple decent looks, but their defense was solid. So hopefully they have their normal defense here. And yeah, I mean, normally I'd be looking at City, to score in both halves and things like that. And I mean, who's to say that those won't come in? But it's just, for me, it's a price play. 18-1, it's way too big for this. I think Wolves are a competitive team. I would put this more at like 12 or 13. So yeah, coming off the loss to Leipzig in the midweek, hopefully we can see kind of another error-prone match here and see if City stumble here.
Yeah, I mean, it is a huge, huge price, isn't it? Considering the way Wolves have been playing. They've only conceded 6 goals in 7 games on the road this season. They are solid at the back, like you say. What about this, Matt? Would you take this plus 107 on Wolves +2 Asian handicap?
Yes. Yeah, I would be. So that would have pushed last season and lost one. I mean, it's tough. I would say yes. Of course. I mean, if I like them at 18-1, then yes, grabbing the +2 makes some sense. I'd be shocked if they got beat by 3 goals here. I really would. They're a solid team.
Yeah, just can't quite. You don't ever really know what Man City's going to show up, do you? Sometimes they struggle and they labour and they can't break a team down, and sometimes they just turn up and win 5-0, 6-0. They're a bit of a difficult team to get a handle on. But
and this being the early kickoff too, Martin. I mean, maybe we could see a little shocker here. And obviously, City played some decent players still in the midweek at Leipzig. They're traveling back here, and Wolves are rested and ready after being extremely competitive against a team that has the same type of quality as Man City.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks, Matt. Next up, we've got Chelsea, another big hitter in this league. Man City are currently top with 35 points, Liverpool on 34 and Chelsea on 33 after that shock defeat that they suffered to West Ham last weekend. Then they went and drew 3-3 with Zenit in midweek in St. Petersburg and failed to claim top spot in their Champions League group. So for a team with arguably the world's tightest defence since Tuchel took the reins there, they've conceded 6 goals in 2 games now. Do you think they'll tighten things up and get it right against Leeds, Matt?
I think so. This was one that I was really looking at, trying to find a way again. I thought that this price was too big, and on Leeds, I mean, it's a great travel spot when you're looking at Chelsea going all the way to Russia, coming back 3-3. They have some disappointment not topping the group, but it's just the problem is Leeds are so injured. Phillips is out, Bamford's out. It's a real problem. I would want to have, if I had the full Leeds 11 and the full complement of players, I still think that they have the type of quality that can spring upsets in this league against, the top 4, top 6 teams. And I would have been all over Leeds, a +1.5, +2, even double chance in money line. I thought that they really had some opportunities here to get after Chelsea. But with these injuries, I would be looking more towards Chelsea again and finding a way to bounce back, and probably just going back to like a classic bet, Martin, like Chelsea under 3.5 or under 4.5 here. They probably keep it tight. Leeds haven't been, other than their last 2-2 against Brentford, it's been pretty low scoring matches for Leeds. So yeah, I would go back to the well with something that works, and that's Chelsea and unders.
Yeah, Leeds have been unfortunate with injuries, haven't they? Bamford came back for a little bit and scored that kind of came off his shin, didn't it? Or but he got the equaliser anyway. And Phillips is out now. It's a real shame for them. They were competitive against some of the big teams last season. I remember they played really well against Man City in one particular game. So I'm always a bit wary of betting against them when the team is like a -350 favourite. So for that reason, I've just passed this one. There's a lot of tricky looking games, I think, this weekend. Next up is another one. Stevie Gerrard is going back to Anfield, where he spent his career. Had a great time there. What do you think? He's gonna get a warm reception, isn't he, when he steps out onto the turf there?
Oh, absolutely. Liverpool fans have, the highest respect for their former players, and of course their absolute legend that is Steven Gerrard. I mean, he is the guy that you think of when you think of Liverpool, and he'll have a great reception. And he's gotten Aston Villa to be extremely competitive in his beginning career here in the Premier League, and I mean, only losing to Manchester City by 1 goal at home. They beat City in that second half, and to try to make it, it look like a comeback, and they were pressing City pretty tough. And so I think that this is going to be a fascinating fixture, but it's more for me to watch from the sidelines and just really try and enjoy the spectacle. I really don't have a good feel for it. Liverpool, for the first time, really, they only scored 1 goal last week against Wolves. I think that was the first time all season that they have failed to score 2. If I were to look at anything, I would be trying to find a way to get Liverpool's offense onside, either to score in both halves or their team total over 2.5. But again, I've left it because I also, on the flip side, kind of think that Villa stay in this game. And I think that the +2, I really couldn't talk anyone off of taking Villa +2 on the Asian handicap here. I mean, they've beaten Liverpool before. They did it in 2020. They did it in 2019. So it's not something that would shock me if Villa grab something here, really. But it's just a stay away.
Yeah, that's the thing. He's got this squad fired up. They've won 3 out of 4 since Steven Gerrard took the reins. They only lost narrowly 2-1 to Man City. So when you see them at 13-1, just kind of think, well, yeah, maybe it'd be better to give them a plus on the Asian handicap. But I see this as very similar to the Man City Wolves game. It's a huge favourite coming up against a dangerous team. And I'm not convinced that that they justify that price. But then the worry is that Liverpool are just like Man City. They're the sort of team that can put 5 goals past you if they put their mind to it. So I would advise staying away from the handicap line on this one. I'd just pass this one. Like you, watch it and enjoy it. But I can't find any good betting angles on it. And I think the less said about the next team, the better. We've got Arsenal Football Club coming up against Southampton. Horrible performance from Arsenal against Everton. Just no spine to their team, no backbone. It was really miserable to watch. And the forwards they can't score open goals. Nketiah missed from about 2 yards out. Aubameyang missed an open goal from 2 yards out in the previous game. There's just not a great deal of spark, especially since Emil Smith-Rowe's been out injured. So I'm passing Arsenal, definitely passing Arsenal. But I think you're playing it, Matt.
Absolutely, I'm on Arsenal. I think that maybe it's just because I didn't bet them last week and you did, so you're feeling a little bit of pain. And I'm happy that I passed it. So now here I go. I'm jumping into this. And it's Arsenal at home. I want to back Arsenal when they're at the Emirates. It's as simple as that. I mean, I'm on Arsenal and under 3.5 here at +140. The only worry for me on this bet is really if it has a way of really opening up and getting a ton of goals in it. Because I mean, when you look at there's some serious concerns here for Southampton. They're going to go with their third string keeper. McCarthy and Forrester are out. That's a big miss. And then their best defender, arguably, is Salisu. He's suspended for this match. Oriol Romeu is suspended for this match. Armstrong's not going to play. There's a lot of issues. And so if you're listening to this and you don't feel like complicating it, I would say don't. I think that I'm just kind of going for a bigger price play here, but I believe that Arsenal on the money line don't complicate it at this -150. It was around -180. Then they had this poor performance against Everton, and you see this line drop. And I'm telling you, I think that this is the best bounce back spot that Arsenal could possibly have here. They normally do pretty well against Southampton in the league. And this is a 3 point for the Gunners for me.
Matt, you've talked me into it. I'm going back for another bet on Arsenal. Arsenal and under 3.5 goals. I love it. Arsenal don't concede a great deal at home, grind out a lot of low-scoring wins. I know you mentioned both goalkeepers out. That's obviously a blow for any team, but I didn't realise that Romeu was suspended. With him suspended, that's really bad for them. He's the guy that screens the defence there. He holds that midfield together. Without him, they often concede goals. So, yeah, I'm gonna join you. Do you know, I might even go Arsenal to win an over 1.5 goals.
I think that I'm starting to talk myself into that myself, just because. Why not? I mean, with the no front screen, like we're talking about, the no defender in, the third goalkeeper, I just worry that if Arsenal explode offensively here, I'll be so furious if that under 3.5 ends up failing me.
Yeah, and Emil Smith-Rowe, he might be back in time to play in this game. I think he's probably going to have to leave out Aubameyang again because he's been playing really badly. But they've got attacking options. And if you're coming up against a third choice goalkeeper, sure, Mikel Arteta will tell them to pepper that goal, shoot from range, test him out. So yeah, I'm going to add it to my picks. Arsenal to win and over 1.5 goals, I think looks like a play for me there. So let's do that. Okay, we're going to have the next game is Norwich versus Manchester United. This is definitely my favourite game of the weekend from a betting perspective. I think Man United have been so much better since getting rid of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. It's like a dark cloud has kind of lifted from over Old Trafford. Obviously, Carrick did well in a caretaker role, but since Rangnick has come in, they look really tight and composed and very compressed on the pitch against Crystal Palace. They really just suffocated the life out of that game. And I think they could do a similar number on Norwich here. They've got the players that kind of work well in that formation. And just before we went on, I was reading that Dean Smith's a bit worried. He's got a few players that might be out due to COVID. They're nervously awaiting some test results. So that's not very good. That's not very good preparation for this game. Even if they do make it, I mean, they haven't had a proper training without all these worries. So I think they're going to be in a bad spot. They've got the worst attacking record in the league, the worst defensive record in the league. Coming up against the rejuvenated Man United, this just looks like an away win all day long for me. So that's what I'm doing. Matt, what are you doing on this one? Are you playing or passing?
I'm playing. We off air kind of talked about this one just yesterday, and I thought that you made a great point when we were talking, and just maybe grabbing the -1 here for United and feeling it's like a free hit. That's what I was thinking after you were talking. It really is a free hit here, I think. I think that United definitely win this match. These COVID concerns for Norwich are a huge concern. I can see this line getting extremely inflated. I've grabbed the -1 yesterday at -135. I could see that getting into the 150s, 170s without a doubt before kickoff in this one if there's some issues. I feel that United more than likely win this by 2 clear goals than they would be to only grab a point on the road here.
Yeah, I also did Man United -1 Asian handicap earlier in the week. I bet that one. I actually, in the end, for the official picks for this show, I ended up putting down Man United to win and under 4.5 goals. I don't think we're going to go over 4.5 goals, so I do like that one at -120 for a bit more value. But yeah, I've also gone for Man United -1 Asian handicap. I think they can win this by 2 clear goals. So yeah, I like both of those. I like both of those options. Really just think it's a great price on Man United. Okay, next up we are going to Turf Moor in the northwest of England, where Burnley are going to be hosting West Ham. West Ham beat Burnley home and away last season. West Ham are better than Burnley. West Ham are 4th in the table, Burnley at 18th. Burnley are in horrible form. West Ham just beat the European champions Chelsea. So why am I getting +110 on West Ham? Don't understand it at all, Matt. Why am I getting +110 on West Ham?
It makes no sense to me either. I think that West Ham, they're the ones that I have circled really to be a potential ad for me later. I just want to double check the lineups because this price is kind of freaking me out in a sense. It's like, why is it this way? And I think that Cornet is going to be unavailable as well for Burnley, and Ben Mee's questionable. Barnes is out. If Cornet doesn't make it, you're just getting the same Burnley from I don't know, the last 5-6 years. It's like the same type of squad. Cornet at least adds a little bit of flair and pizzazz a bit, up top. Yeah. What was that, Martin?
No, I totally agree.
Yeah.
He's the game changer for them. And actually, Barnes has got a bit about him as well. He can kind of create chances and he can shoot from range and stuff. The rest of their forwards are no good.
I agree. And, Barnes, at least, when they're hoofing balls up the pitch, he can get a flick on to someone like Cornet, for example. That's the most that they've spent on a player. It was on Cornet in a very long time. And so it doesn't look good for that I don't think he's going to win the fitness race to be able to be fit here against West Ham. And yeah, +100, even money on a team that is in great form. They have a great midfield. You know that they're going to control the match. One home and away last season. I can only look towards the Hammers in this.
Yeah, I can only look towards the Hammers as well in this, Matt. Just Edward saying on the chat that it was a poor performance from West Ham yesterday. But the thing is, none of those players that played for West Ham yesterday are going to feature in this game.
Yep.
They played a reserve team because the game was absolutely meaningless to them. They had nothing to play for. So the actual first team of West Ham's had the entire week off to rest and recharge and recuperate. And David Moyes has got to say to him that if we're going to be challenging for a top 4 place by the end of the season, we really need to be winning at Turf Moor. And some of the bigger teams can come unstuck perhaps against Burnley because they fight, but West Ham aren't that sort of team. West Ham are a tough team as well. They can kick you just as hard as they get kicked. So I love this. I love this bet. I can't really understand why the odds are so good. Does make me a little bit nervous, but I'm all over it. West Ham to win at plus 110 looks absolutely fantastic. Next up, Leicester, who also weren't great in midweek, up against Napoli. They lost 3-2. Had both teams to score in over 2.5 goals there, so I was pleased that one came in. They are out of the Europa League now, so they can focus on trying to get up the Premier League table. Coming up against the Newcastle team that finally picked up their first win of the season, Matt, last weekend. This is another reason to beat up on Burnley. Newcastle hadn't won a single game all season, and they beat Burnley. Come on, surely West Ham have got to beat Burnley. So Newcastle beat Burnley, so they're going to be slightly more optimistic and a bit happier with the way things are going now. They're going up against the Leicester team that just absolutely leak goals. They just cannot defend, but some very dangerous forwards. So both teams to score over 2.5 goals.
I think it's the best bet of the week. It's probably the most obvious with just how many times both teams' score has come in for Leicester. And I've mentioned it for about a year now, I feel like. It's getting nauseating now, but I love betting on Newcastle to score. And some of their matches have just been high octane, high amount of goals. And so, yeah, this was a no-brainer. This was bet immediately last week. This was the first bet that was locked in for me. I think it's the best bet of the week. I think it's banker material. And, yeah, both teams score. I don't care who wins. I mean, when you look at the head-to-heads, the last 4 have at least seen over 2.5 goals. And the last 2 last season, both home and away, both teams to score over 2.5 goals was a no-doubter. So, yeah, it's got to be played for me.
Yeah, definitely. I am with you there. Both teams to score over 2.5 goals. Be very surprised if that doesn't come in. We're going to have to skip the Brighton versus Spurs game, I'm afraid, because it's been postponed due to a large COVID outbreak in the Tottenham squad. Would have been a bit unfair to make them play this game when they've got so many people out missing. But it's going to have a detrimental effect on Tottenham at some point because they're going to have to cram in more games in what is an already very congested period in the season. So yeah, not looking too great for Tottenham, but we will jump over that one and we will go straight down to Crystal Palace versus Everton. And Everton just picked up their first win in like 8 games because that's what happens when Arsenal play. If you're on a long losing streak, the best team you can play is Arsenal. They always seem to get the better of them. They're coming up against Palace, who started the season really well. They've lost 3 in a row. None of those defeats was particularly comprehensive. They're always very competitive. They're always in games, but perhaps they haven't had the rub of the green in the last few weeks. What do you reckon on this, Matt? Can you find any betting angles?
Not really. It's not a match that I want to get involved in. I don't know what to expect from Everton. If they were to put in a similar performance to last week at Goodison, then I would expect them to be able to get something from this game. And they collected 4 points against Palace last season. They collected 4 points against Palace the season prior and 4 points the season prior to that. So they have been, they've been able to find ways to get the better of Crystal Palace. And I mean, I would still give the managerial edge to Everton here, but I think that Palace, They're a tricky team. They're a team that I have really struggled to figure out over the last 12 to 18 months. They've probably burned me more than just about anyone in this league. And so I would be looking towards something like both teams to score. I could see goals in this match. I don't trust either defenses, but it wouldn't shock me either if you're just sitting there at halftime and this is 0-0 and you're now like, oh, well, I need 3 second half goals to cash this over 2.5, or 2 goals, by both teams to cash a BTTS. Yes. So yeah, this is a complete stay away. I would need to see some lineups and maybe find a small edge from those lineups. But yeah, there's nothing for me here.
Yeah, this one doesn't look great to me either, I must admit. It fell well for Everton on the Monday game. They're coming up against Arsenal. It was really raining really heavily. Arsenal don't play well in the rain. And he instructed them to go and kick lumps out of Arsenal's young team. I think it's a much more difficult assignment to go down to London and play Crystal Palace on their home turf. I can see this maybe finishing in a draw. One player I was so impressed with, though, was Richarlison. He scored, but he was so unlucky not to score 2 more because there's such narrow offside decisions. He does play right on the shoulder of the last defender when he plays in that central attacking role. But I think if you really did want to have a bet on this game just for a bit of fun, Richarlison to score any time would probably be the way to go. Hey to everyone in the chat. Great to have you all here. Thanks very much. Building up our community at BMR slowly but surely. It's great to have you all here. Okay, we've run through all the games. It's time for the wizard in the control room to please bring up the picks. We'll tell everyone what we're going for. Just 4 picks for me this weekend. I think it's a bit of a tricky card, I must admit. So I've got Man United to win and under 4.5 goals at -120. But I also bet on Man United -1 Asian handicap. Happy for that. And I'd even go to Man United -1.25 Asian handicap for a bit more value. I've just got Sadio Mane to score at any time in that game. I think he has 8 goals in 8 games against Liverpool, against Aston Villa during his career. Loves playing against that opposition, so I think he could get on the score sheet. West Ham to win at +110. Love that. Leicester, Newcastle, both teams to score and over 2.5 goals at -110. And Matt's convinced me to throw in Arsenal and over 1.5 goals in that game. So that's what I'm going for too.
Yeah, I think that I'm starting to convince myself to possibly cash out of the Arsenal and under 3.5 and just rebet it on the over 1.5 because Romeu is that front screen that we talked about. They have a lot of defensive issues. So, I think Arsenal and over 1.5 is really the best bet in that match. I'm taking Wolves at 18-1. I took a half unit stab on this one. To win 9 units because I just think that the price is too big, and I think that they've been really competitive with City over the past few seasons. So, going for Wolves. Leicester, Newcastle, both teams have scored over 2.5 goals. I think that Martin and I would both agree that that's the best bet of the week. And then today, getting ready to kick off here in a few hours, Brentford is playing Watford, and it's both teams to score yes. And like Martin talked about, Manchester United -1 for me, -135. I feel as if it's a free hit. So hopefully we can make some profit this weekend, Martin.
Indeed. Let's hope we can. Yeah, apologies about that typo. It's Brentford versus Watford. Both teams to score at -127 tonight. And Matt's going for the long shot, 1,800 on Wolves. That is a huge, huge price. If you agree with him and you don't want to go all out for a +1,800, you can go Wolves +2 on the Asian handicap and you get plus money on that. So not a bad approach, I would venture. Okay, thank you to the wizard in the control room. Thank you to Mr. Matt Lawrence for joining me. Thank you to everyone in the chat for taking part and getting involved. This has been the Premier League show. We're going to be back in half an hour's time to run through a tricky La Liga card. We'll get to that in half hour, and we look forward to seeing you all again then. Thanks.
Thanks, Martin.